All right, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Do Our Things podcast. I'm JT because I have in studio with me Angie Petran. How you doing, Angie?
I am I'm awake, man. I've been awake since 2:30 this morning. Not on purpose, but I'm here and I'm awake and I'm ready to do the thing. So,
I had a hard time sleeping. I'm not much of a football fan, but I ended up staying up watching the because I'm a Swiftie, right? So that's why I'm watching football. I'm joking. I'm not a Swiftie. I just happened to be watching the Kansas City game and the Jets game, and it went. I don't know. I don't usually, like I said, I don't usually watch it, but it was a really
yeah.
good game, so I was watching it. And then when I laid down, I just couldn't go to sleep. I don't think I fell asleep till like 1 o'clock. So it's a
Ooh. So you
just
fell asleep at 1 and I woke up at 2:30. All right.
yeah. So and I haven't even had a caffeine yet. So this is going to be an interesting episode this morning.
Heck yeah.
But this morning, we want to talk about how to turn your setbacks into comebacks because failure, it's just one of those topics that it just seems that everyone is mired with this notion of this fear of failure. It's so ingrained in our conditioning as humans. We want to talk about, where does that come from? Give us some strategies to help you overcome that
Yes.
because truly failure is a part of the process.
Mhm.
However, we're so conditioned. We have so much external conditioning that we see failure as just something that's like there's a malady, like there's something wrong with us. And
Mhm.
and the fear of it is so powerful that it paralyzes us from making any forward progress. And how do you overcome that and come back from that? And if you really look back at your life, probably some of the biggest things that were meaningful probably were met with some type of failure. Anything that was a meaningful or added some level of satisfaction was overcoming, some form of failure. So that's what we're going to kind of dive into today. So before we get into that, real quick, make sure you smash that subscribe button so you're notified of future episodes, and leave us a review on Apple iTunes. They go a long way for us to expand the Do Hard Things Nation empire. Share it with a couple of your friends because I know there's people in your life that are struggling with failure. This episode is sponsored by Lions Guide. Lions Guide is an online leadership development academy. We have a host of online courses, group training, one-on-one training, in-person workshops. And the whole idea is how to lead yourself better and lead your teams better. And what I'm excited about right now is I'm currently recording the Forge Your Vision 12 actions to align your North Star. So it's like a finding your purpose course. So we do a weekly. If you join the academy, you get access to all of the course material and the. So anyway, go to lionsguide.com. You can learn more about what we offer there. We also have the Forge there, which is near and dear to my heart because I help host and facilitate that, which is a high performance group coaching program where we offer networks, frameworks, challenges, and accountability. So yeah, check us out. Go to lionsguide.com if you'd like to learn more about what we're doing over there. And we're also sponsored by Do Hard Things Nation. Go grab yourself some apparel. I got the polo shirt on today. We've got hats and patches and
Mhm.
all sorts of gear over there. So go to doourthingsnation.com. You can also see the latest and greatest offerings over there. So, all right, let's get into today's topic where we're talking about failure. Why? Now, every week I get with Angie. I'm like, hey, what topic you want to talk about? And Angie reached out to me this week, and this is near and dear to her heart. So, why? I guess let's just start off with why is this on your heart right now?
Well, because our roller derby team lost our last game of the season. And so, everyone processes that differently. Some people process it in a healthy way. Some people, we're a recreational league, right? So we don't play for rankings. Um, but some people process it in a very unhealthy way and they get very upset and frustrated and angry. And, just, I just wanted to talk about it because I know it's something that a lot of people struggle with. And when I sat back and thought about, uh, failures this week, losing a game to me is not a failure. Yes, it's a loss, but it's more important to me because we're a recreational league to have fun and to learn something, to have takeaways from it, to see what we can do better next time. How can we train up next season to be better, to not have a loss, right? That's kind of how I look at it. But I didn't always look at losses and failures that way in my life, and it took a very long time for me to be able to reframe those and understand that failing at something doesn't make me a bad person. It doesn't make me less than, and it is actually a positive thing. Um, for forward momentum to learn and to grow and to do better. I actually didn't learn these things until I joined the Forge a few years ago. So that's why I'm wearing my Forge shirt today.
Yeah, I love the fact that not this whole notion that failure is losing your emotional control over, you know, having a failing. I was at a football game a few weeks ago, and there was a one of the coaches was so upset about the loss after the game, and I just was seeing him. It was affecting him so deeply. When the team was over there, he was like over like just having a moment to himself, and I'm like, shouldn't you be over here with the team? He took the loss so personally,
Mhm.
and it's just a sign of just kind of the times and how we allow failure to live rent free in our heads sometimes, and we
Mhm.
can lose our emotional control, and
Yeah.
it's not healthy. And I just would have people consider, like, when you think about failure and the fear of that, like, where does that come from?
Mhm.
And if you look at like children, children have no fear. We look at, I've got triplet, daughters. I remember them just like growing up and trying to learn how to walk, right? They're pretty fearless. They're jumping off the couch and they're trying to get out, trying all these different things without me prompting. It's not really until you start to go to school where you start getting that external programming of, we're introducing grades and competition for school, and it's the whole notion of you got to sit down and raise your hand to use the bathroom and sit down, straighten up, and you're supposed to be doing this and you're supposed to be doing that. A lot of these external societal pressures at a very early age,
Mhm.
I think, cause us to fear things. We fear like not performing well in school to get the grade, and the teacher or fellow students or our parents aren't going to think well of us, right? It's
Right.
so ingrained in us to not fail that there's something wrong with us if we do. So when we're trying to, I don't know, embark on something, we just take failure like it's I don't know, to the extreme, right?
Well, it's funny you talk about being in school because I remember being in elementary school reading Jack and Jill, the very early readings, and the teacher calls on you to read a paragraph. And it's just like, oh, it's this paralyzing, like, oh my God, I've got to read this in front of the class and I
Yeah.
might mess up. And everyone's gonna think I'm stupid rather than, "Oh, hey, it's my turn to try and read this, and if I mess up, it's cool because at least I'm trying." But it
Yeah.
was never that it was never that thought process, even from that early age. At least I'm trying. It was, "Oh god, I might mess up and everybody might think I'm stupid."
Yeah, I remember I was very much an introvert growing up, and I remember I would have a question. I'd be too scared to raise my hand to ask a question because they didn't want to hold the class up, or maybe I was the dumb kid because everyone else was getting it and I wasn't.
Yeah.
And what I've learned over time is that there's a lot of usually a lot of people in the classroom that have the same question as you do.
Yeah.
Everyone's just too scared to ask
Yeah.
because you don't want to look like a fool in front of everyone, and that's toxic. It's really not. It's not a good thing.
No.
And we have so when I coach people and when I talk people through a problem, that's usually where I try to like, where's that fear coming from? Where's that fear coming from? And it's usually something. It's just societal pressure. It's fear of judgment. Because when you look at like the fear of failure, fear serves us well from a biological perspective.
Mhm.
The fear is what keeps us alive. It's a survival mechanism. But a lot of our fear, we need to really take a look at it. I always help people like to get a pen and paper out and write down what it is that you fear. And we need to look at it. Is it a rational fear or is it an irrational fear? A rational fear like has real consequences. It's designed to be there to show that, hey, give you a signal that, hey, you need to be aware because there's a saber-toothed tiger over here that's about to jump on you and pounce on you, and you're gonna fend it off.
Yeah.
Um, and so fear actually is useful, but a lot of our fear isn't useful. And if you take a pen and paper down and write down, what are you fearful of? The first thing is it rational or irrational? Is this fear useful to you in this moment? And that'd be question number one. And then secondly, there's four types of fear. There's the fear of pain. Okay, so that's the saber-toothed tiger, like wanting to rip our face off, right? And that has a there's a real man, I'm having a hard time in my brain this morning getting fired up because I have no coffee. There's a real notion that there could be a painful outcome to something. We fear losing something. Oftentimes we fear losing reputation or street cred or whatever you want to call it. It's that judgment. We might fear losing money. You know, we're going to embark on this. We're going to invest in this thing and we're going to lose our money. We usually fear losing something. We might lose the favor of someone. You ask the girl out, she may not like us anymore because she's going to think we're a clown, right? So you don't ask her, right? You lose reputation. The process, the hardship of taking on something new, we will go out of our way to resist pain. We don't want to embark on some of those things. And then finally, the outcome. The grass may not be greener on the other side, so why even put in all the effort? And when you can dissect the fear of is it true? Is it rational? Or is it bullshit? Is it made up stuff in my head? That can help you like just take that next step into it. But once again, most of our fears are irrational. They don't come with like real consequence. They come with the fear of judgment and these other external things. And it's just the external conditioning of that in our society is so hard, which is why it's very difficult to overcome. So I guess step one is having an awareness, right? Yeah. Realizing that when you are fearful to take a step, that failure, that's conditioned into you, and just really be aware of that. I guess that would be step number one in the strategy of overcoming that. What do you think about that? Have you had anything like that in your life?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that is definitely you have to be aware. You have to be aware that initial fear. I mean, I hate to sound this way, but you have to be aware that fear. What are you scared of? Like you said, why are you scared of it? And is it bullshit? Like, are you, just to put it bluntly,
bullshit? Yeah.
Really? Because all that lives up in your head, that fear of judgment, that's up here. Like, what do you care about? And whose opinion do you care about? I mean, I used to care so much about my image as far as I thought that everyone expected me to be the subject matter expert in photography at all times, without realizing that, no, I'm just human. People know I'm human. No one expects me to know everything. No one can know everything. But for some reason, I just built this notion up in my head that I'm the photographer. I have to know everything, versus just telling people, hey, they asked me a question. I don't know. I can figure it out, though. I can learn it, but I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, just this bullshit built up in my head, man.
Yeah. So I've learned that inside of us, we have like an internal battle with inside of us. It's logic brain, emotional brain, it's smaller self, higher self. There's numerous terms for it, but the bottom line is we have a higher self and we have a lower self. And higher self is it's your wise, best self. It's the one that's forward thinking. It's the one that's setting the goals and pursuing the big things in life. Lower self is this petulant child. It's the emotional. It's the one that someone cut you off in traffic and you just want to rail on the horn and flip them off, and show them they're number one. It's the one that, when you come home after a hard day and you drink a beer and it leads to 2 or 3. It's the one that's just constantly, I don't know. It's designed to keep to procreate and to enjoy, like eat things for survival. It's a survival mechanism, and they live inside of your head. And there's a great story. There's a story of the wolf you feed, and it's attributed, I believe, to the Cherokee tribe. But basically, it's a Cherokee elder is teaching his grandson about life, and he says to the young boy, "There's a fight that's going on inside of me. It's a terrible fight between 2 wolves. One is evil. One is full of anger, sorrow, envy, regret, greed, arrogance, self-pity, guilt, resentment, inferiority, lies, false pride, superiority, and ego." And he said the other wolf is full of joy, peace, love, hope, humility, kindness, benevolence, empathy, generosity, truth, compassion, and faith. And the same fight is going on within each one of us. And The grandson thinks about it for a minute, and he's like, well, which wolf will win? And the old man simply says, the one that you feed. And so we all have this, and that notion of failure is part of that smaller self. It's part of that wolf of negativity, but it's a part of our life. Those thoughts and feelings that we have, it's like that war is always going to be inside of us. And so what I have learned is if you can take the higher self and realize that, have the sense of, self-actualization that, hey, smaller self's acting up again. I'm going to put smaller self in timeout. Okay. And coach them and counsel them and mentor them like you would a child, into and just talking through that fear.
Mhm.
Then you can give that fear some level. You can determine whether or not it's rational or irrational, and coach that inner self, that smaller child that's inside of you through this problem. Because that's what's happening is this child's throwing a temper tantrum and you're letting it win. You're letting it win when you should be the parent that's kind of coaching them through it.
Yeah.
That's how I deal with it. I've learned to deal with that through, to your point, just reading about the topic and just doing the work necessary to alchemize and pick apart the fear. And by doing that process more and more over time, I've been able to, I don't know, fear doesn't paralyze me as much as it used to.
Right. Yeah. And when it comes to the fear of failure, I really think identifying and reframing that thought process of, oh my God, I failed, I'm a loser, which is what a lot of people tell themselves. I mean, I hear people talk horribly to themselves so much. But if you can stop that cycle, that just horrible cycle, and reframe that to, all right, so what? I failed again. What lessons have I learned from this? How am I going to do it better next time? And it doesn't matter how many times you fail, because as long as you're learning something and you're doing it better each and every time, you're going to get it. You're going to get there. And by failing, you're showing the world that you're trying. You're not showing the world that you're an idiot. It doesn't mean you're stupid. It doesn't mean you're a loser. It means you're trying. You're trying to get better. You're trying to improve whatever it is that you continue to work on. So you got to keep showing up. You got to keep showing up for yourself, and you got to keep showing up for those around you, for the kids in your life who you may or may not realize or look up to you, whether they're your own, their nieces and nephews, their friends' kids. You just never know who's watching you. But by showing up and talking to them about it, right? You're showing them it's okay to fail. It's okay as long as you're not quitting. Don't quit when things get hard, right? Because there's a difference between failure and quitting. Don't let the fear of failure allow you to quit, because that doesn't feel good.
Yeah,
Trust me, I know.
that leads to like regrets, right?
Yeah.
When you quit in spite of failure because you don't want to fail, so you quit ahead of
Yes.
time.
Yes.
That leaves a score in your subconscious, and that
Yep.
will erode your confidence.
Mhm.
Um, and you need wins. You need those moments where you faced failure and you overcame them
Yes.
to develop courage and confidence. But you can also erode courage and confidence. And the best way to do that, to erode it fast, is to quit. Just to
Yeah.
quit instead of seeing it through.
Yeah.
And yeah, and so that's incredibly just really important to note. Like if you're quitting something early, see it through. See it through
Mm.
so you can develop that confidence muscle that's inside of you.
Yeah.
A famous story in history is the Thomas Edison, how he reframed failure. Thomas Edison was known for, we wouldn't be on here today if it wasn't for Thomas Edison, right? The light bulb. I was actually having a lighting issue this morning, trying to get the lights turned on, right? And I was thinking about it. But he was a very persistent, resilient individual in his endeavor to create the incandescent light bulb, right?
Mhm.
And he faced thousands of failures, and he's basically took him, they said 10,000 times to for one to work. And he's quoted for saying, "I've not failed. I just found 10,000 ways that it doesn't work."
Right.
And basically, failure is not a dead end, but just a step closer to success.
Yes.
and that you just got to keep trying and keep throwing spaghetti against the wall until it sticks. And then eventually it's gonna work.
Hmm.
But if you live a life where the whole notion is I'm going to avoid failure at all costs, I'm going to be fearful, you're not going to live a life of, I don't know, you're going to have a lot of regrets at the end of your life.
You
You're not
are.
going to live a very fulfilling or satisfied life. You're probably going to live a life of scarcity and just lacking confidence.
Hmm.
And so doing the hard thing is facing fear and pushing to failure. And there's ways to mitigate the failure. Get a coach or a mentor, have an open, have a growth mindset of, what I can learn, do the work necessary to mitigate the failure to the best of your ability, and then have the emotional control to not fall apart when things aren't going your way.
That's a really good reminder for people. Have the emotional maturity and control to
Yeah.
keep your stuff together when things don't go right. It's okay. Don't you don't have to throw yourself on the floor like a toddler and throw a temper tantrum.
Yeah. And that's, once again, that smaller self, you're letting smaller self take control.
Yeah.
And that's letting the kids be in charge when they shouldn't be. And so, and it takes some work and practice to do that.
Yeah.
But that's the case for having a growth mindset and doing the work necessary, right? That's why we've got to constantly be reading and learning and being around other people that do. And it's a disciplined practice. It's not something that that just comes naturally. It's something you have to work at. That's why I think that all this work that we do is very much like a martial art. It's mental jujitsu.
It is.
You got to take yourself to the gym. That's what like the Forge is. These mindset groups
Yeah.
are. It's a gym for your mindset,
Mhm.
and you've got to actively work it. Because if not, that smaller self is going to just get out of control and take the wheel every time it can. And
Yeah,
so
and
that's how
that
you shift
smaller
your
self
mindset.
doesn't make a good leader. That I mean, it's when I talk about, showing up for yourself and showing up for those around you, you're a leader. Everyone is a leader, whether you're a leader in the home, whether you're a leader at work, and you have to lead yourself. I mean, it starts with self first, right? But people, you may not be in a supervisory position or you may not be the boss at your job, but you're still leading someone. Someone is looking to you for answers. Someone is looking to you to see how you handle situations. And you need to keep that in the forefront, that be a good leader for yourself and let that translate into being a good leader for those around you.
Yeah. It's something that's really helped me. I don't know if it'll help you or anyone else, but I've started to learn that our spirit, we're in this vessel, this I don't know, we have bone and meat, we've got a brain and heart, we have all these organs.
Mhm.
If you just let your, I mean, but we're I guess ultimately within our head, but I would say even outside of that, because I think the brain is a tool and we're in charge of our brain. But if you let the brain go on autopilot, that's where small self and higher self and usually smaller self will want to take over. You've got to look at this like you're a machine essentially,
Mhm.
and you've got to take control. And you can easily put yourself on autopilot and let the machine run itself, but it doesn't operate as effectively if you let it on autopilot all the time, right? It's like that F-35 that went missing.
Yeah.
It's if you let it go on autopilot, things are bad things are going to happen. So you've got to be in control and you've got to lead yourself first.
Yeah.
And that means being aware that your brain can hijack you and all this fear stuff. It's your initial programming when you were younger as a
Yeah.
child that is really causing you to do and act in many of the ways that you find frustrating today. It's due to that initial programming. It's not congruent typically with the best of yourself because it
Right.
was given to you by someone else who thought it was good for you.
Yeah.
And so you've got to do some of that unprogramming, I think, if you will. If you're having some struggles and challenges in life, you probably have to do some. I don't know what the proper. I'm not an IT person, but probably take out some programming, like remove some of the programming,
Reprogram, reprogram.
reprogram yourself.
Yeah.
And I know that my life has been infinitely better, but doing that mindset work, doing that gym work, and reprogramming my own thoughts to how I want them to be. Like,
Yeah.
I'm wise enough now to understand how I want to operate. I have got to change some of the programming out so I can operate efficiently.
Well, and I feel like I connect with people better now that I realize, now that I know that failure is just a stepping stone to success. Sharing my failures with others in conversation on the everyday, just in everyday conversation, I connect with people on a deeper level because people are afraid to talk about their failures. They don't want to seem like they don't know and I my life is so much better because I can connect with people on a deeper level because I'm not afraid to share failures because I'm not afraid to share the things that I learned that didn't work along the way and to share that I'm still learning and I'm still growing. And I'm not letting fear paralyze me anymore because I used to let fear paralyze me. Fear of failures, 100 million% would stop me in my tracks. I remember in my head, sometimes, I would replay a conversation I had with someone or a situation. And if I felt like I failed and I hadn't rectified it, so say if you and I had a conversation, I felt like it wasn't the best or I didn't handle the situation the best or whatever. If I hadn't rectified that, if I saw you in public, I would turn around and walk the other way to avoid you. I
Yeah.
mean, to avoid situations, to avoid people that I thought were judging me. Um, gosh, even going back to back in 2000, I lost over 100 pounds. Well, then I maintained it, but then 2009, I gained it all back plus some. And if I saw someone that only knew me as my smaller self back then in public, you better believe I would turn around and walk away. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. I've gained all my weight back. I didn't maintain it. I can't look this person in the face.
Yeah. That's
Rather than
healthy. Yeah.
Yeah, but, rather than saying, "Hey, look, this is me now. Now I've just gotta get back on track. I've gotta, you know, um, get back into, yes, I failed, but now I'm going to do it again." You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
but you can
Yeah,
take
it eroded your confidence so badly that
Yeah,
you couldn't even, engage with people that were your friends or that knew you, that
and they
acquainted,
didn't
right?
care. They didn't care.
They didn't care. Yeah.
They didn't care. If they were really my friend, I know they didn't care. It was
Yeah.
just all built up in here. But that can be applied to anything that anyone has failed at in life.
Yeah.
I know I'm not the
Yeah.
only one that's ever done that.
No, absolutely. Yeah. No, I remember one of the biggest, I chalk it up in the military, you just don't fail. You have all this pressure
Mhm.
to get things done. I remember when I went to air assault school and I failed, I thought my career was over. I'm like, how in the hell? I was so mortified to go back to my unit
Yeah.
because they were going to think I was the biggest shitbag and treat me accordingly.
Mhm.
And in the grand scheme of things, they didn't. I thought my first sergeant, he was kind of a scary dude at the time, and that's back when first sergeants could really, rough you
Mhm.
up. And um, he was just like, "Okay, well, when are you going back?" And he's just like, "Okay, we'll shake it off. You just study." And I mean, I really thought that I was probably going to get removed from my position, or just, I don't know. I had all of these fears that I was going to be treated. I was going to lose credibility. I was going to lose my
Mhm.
position. I was going to be just treated like a dirtbag, and no one really said anything. And in fact, it was more supportive than anything else.
Right.
It did surprise people because I was such a high performer but it was just one of those things that I screwed up,
Mhm.
and it really wasn't nearly as bad as the outcome of that wasn't really. And I went back, and guess what? I aced it the second time. I was
Yeah.
actually probably better going through and renegotiating, the exam. And
Mhm.
because I wanted to go back, and there's no way I was going to come back another time and fail again. I mean, wasn't going to happen. So I studied and I studied and I studied, and I
Right.
made myself a subject matter expert. So it made me better at actually doing my job.
Right.
And so that was one of the early in my career when I was so mortified of failure. I just
Mhm.
remember that vividly because it was like, oh my god, I can't go back to my unit today. I thought it was going to like face my execution.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that's what it feels like, right? That's what it feels
yeah,
like because 'cause we've built that up in our heads. So, yeah,
yeah,
I just, I hope people listen to this and take away strategies and really just listen to what we're saying and just sit and think about your own life and the decisions that you're making and how you view failure and what you're scared of. And I really hope that you consider um, changing the way you view it and you turn those setbacks into comebacks.
Absolutely. And it all boils down to, is the fear rational or irrational? Is it
Mhm.
legit or is it not? And where's that coming from? And what are the true consequences, the outcomes? And
Yep.
you start to really look at it. And you're like, okay, it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
More 9 times out of 10.
Right.
All right. All right. Here, let me share.
Ooh,
Here
I
we
know.
go. Our weekly winner. It's that time of
Ooh.
week. All right. This one's pretty cool. They're all cool, but this one, my notes teed up here. All right. So this is Eric and Barry Cassif. They're from the Kansas City area, and they're brothers. And Eric served in the United States Air Force and retired. And Barry's a business owner who retired as well. And they have coordinated and put on 2 years in a row the second annual Run Home Relay. And what it is, it's a 300-mile relay run across the state. So they have various people, runners from around the state, meet up, and they basically, I mean, we're running across the Katy Trail,
Mhm.
and they're basically bringing awareness for the Veterans Community Project. And so Barry and Eric, basically they dedicate their time to put this on, and they're meeting up with all the runners. They're coordinating all the runners. They're meeting up with the runners along the way. They're handing out water bottles, and they're seeing everyone. They're basically making this whole thing happen, and it's all for Veterans Community Project, which is building tiny homes for veterans in various cities around the country. They've got a project in Kansas City, St. Louis, Longmont, Colorado, Oklahoma, Sioux Falls, and Milwaukee. And they currently have 343 homes, and they're trying to get to 400 by the end of the year. And they're actually making a big dent in the veteran homelessness crisis that we have. And I just think these two gentlemen don't have to do this, and they're dedicating a tremendous amount of time and energy to make this happen. Lacey ran. I rode my bike with her, and it was just awesome because there was no one around us. It was like Lacey had to meet up with them in like a Friday afternoon, and
Yeah.
there's really a couple other people on the trail, but it was just us doing this hard thing together, and seeing Lacey like come across the finish line and them being so supportive. It's just, I don't know. I just think it's a fantastic thing to do, to be able to give back, to use your talents and abilities to do something that's worthwhile and special, all in the cause of eradicating a problem, which is homeless veterans. And I
Mhm.
and I just love this organization, and I just love everyone that's been participating. There are over 45,000 nonprofits for veterans, which is a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
it when you think about it, it's like, well, why do we still have some of these veteran issues, right? We have so this, and not to disparage any other organization that's out there. I just find this organization is really making an impact
Mhm.
in a way that's meaningful, and that's why I love this particular organization. And a lot of these organizations, they have a good heart, but they're just kind of just struggling to
Yeah.
make an impact. I think Veterans Community Project is really making a tremendous impact. So that's why I'm just passionate about what they do. And so Eric and Barry, thank you guys for what you're doing. We're going to send you guys a Do Hard Things shirt. Appreciate the effort that you put into this, and we look forward to seeing you out there next year.
Yes, that is awesome. Yeah, this is I am gonna look into this, and I think I would love to run this next year. I'm gonna have to put this on my calendar.
Lacey didn't know about it till the last minute, and she just kind of jumped in and did 16 miles. But I think, yeah, next year we'll have a better heads up of when they're going to do it. So we'll let you know, because it was literally like a last minute thing. So for us,
Yeah, yeah,
but we're glad that we got to participate in it, and they needed runners. So I think I mean, second annual, they're just trying to get the word out, and it's
yeah.
during the week, and so there's some challenges there. But no doubt this is going to be a home run, and well, let's run home.
I bet we
Keep
could
going.
get some of our Do Hard Things Nation people up on this. I mean, if we start
Oh
planning
yeah.
now for next year, it's a
Absolutely.
wrap.
Yeah. So it'll be next September. So we'll get this out there, because we'd love to have a bunch of people participating for sure from
Yeah.
HT Nation. That'd be fantastic. So Eric, Barry, thank you guys. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Awesome. And then here's the website, Veterans Community Project. It's so cool. They got these little tiny homes in the Yeah, it's
Right
freaking
on.
awesome.
That is awesome.
So make an impact. So,
Heck yeah.
all
They're
right.
making
Well,
an they're making an impact with homes. We're making an impact making people smile because I'm gonna go out and make somebody smile today. You're gonna make somebody smile today. You weren't smiling this morning, but you're smiling now.
I'm gonna get some coffee that's gonna help me with my smile. I'm gonna adjust my attitude a little bit and seize the day. It's just
Put
one of those
yourself in
days
the corner.
where you're tired, right? Just when you're low in energy, and this is a whole other thing, but when you're low in energy, it affects your mood. It affects you.
It
You're a little
does.
crankier, and so I'm gonna reset myself because that's not the intention I want to set today. I'm gonna reset
Right.
my intention. So,
Good.
all right, for everyone out there, keep doing hard things, make someone
Yes,
smile. We'll see you guys in the next episode.
we will.